them I'm coming, and hell's coming with me, you hear? Hell's coming with me.
Welcome to Pulp Mythos and the Kurt Russell-A-Thon. This is the second film of this series. We'll be reviewing Kurt Russell movies all month long, August 2020. And today we are talking about Stargate. Please subscribe and hit that bell so you can be notified of all of our content as it drops. And we are trying to hit that 100 subs before September 1st. We are very close. Thanks for that. Help us achieve that goal. So, yeah, Stargate. What is your history with Stargate? Do you have a history with Stargate?
Yeah, we dated for a while, and
was it good?
It was a bad breakup. It wasn't amicable. I was wanting to continue things, and the Stargate was wanting to move on to Atlantis and wherever else it was going. No, I remember seeing it when I was a kid. It was one of those times where me and Nick, my friend Nick, we went to the movies a lot, and we would sit there and go to multiple movies in one day. We also spent one weekend where we saw Judge Dredd, Apollo 13, and the Die Hard with a Vengeance, the one with Samuel L. Jackson, all in one day. We just hopped from a
super 90s day.
Yes, I don't know. But we did that all the time, and Stargate was one of those movies that we went and saw in theaters. So, and it was, I like sci-fi. So, it felt, and even seeing it now, like rewatching it, felt more like an adventure movie than it did sci-fi. And I still liked it a lot. And James Spader, we should do a James Spader month, because when I was looking at him, I was like, damn, he's been in a lot of movies too.
Yeah. I've only seen this film twice, because I remember both times I saw it before. The first was when it came out. I saw it in theaters in 94. And then the second time was probably around 98, 2000, somewhere around there. I can't remember the exact year, but I had just moved, and it was the day before I was going to start a new school. And I very clearly remember having a little anxiety and just, that whole, I moved a lot as a kid and just like, I just got to start a new school. And it was, I got in bed and I remember turning on the TV and, I was looking for something to watch, and it was coming on. It was like literally just starting. And so I was like, oh, okay, I remember this movie. I'll watch it. So I watched the movie, and I remember, and this is corny, but I do remember for that 2.5 hours just sort of zoning out and enjoying the movie.
Brian, I've known you a long time, and that was probably the worst thing that I've ever heard about you. That Stargate is like your therapy.
It was. It's like I said, whenever I think of Stargate, that's the moment I remember. I remember that night.
But if that's the worst thing I have to say about you, then that's, in your defense, there's a lot of good things. And I guess that the worst thing is you like Stargate enough to therapize yourself with it.
It's sort of that the memory of a more innocent time. It's like, and like you said, it's one of those movies that has a pretty well-defined beginning, middle, and end. The good guys, the bad guys. It's very, very simple storytelling and easy for a young mind to sort of get lost in. I never got into the shows, though. Never.
Me neither. Not even a little bit.
No, and I just never really gave them a shot. And I believe there were 3 over the last.
I want to say the only 2 that I know were the SG-1, which I'm not.
That was the original, I believe.
Yeah, and I don't know what this, because Atlantis is pretty easy. They got stuck in Atlantis. I don't know.
I don't remember the name. It was just like on a spaceship. and because I actually was at a panel for it at Comic-Con one year, and it was before a panel I wanted to see, and I was like, I'll sit through this one. And I want to say, I'm gonna look it up right now.
Stargate Deep Space 10.
I was a is it Universe? Hold on, I think it might be. Yes, Stargate Universe. There you go.
Ugh.
So, and it was I believe they were just on a spaceship flying around, which sort of defeats the whole purpose, I think, of the premise of using the Stargates. I don't know.
Well, and that's the thing is the part I enjoyed about the movie is that I think the reason I didn't give the shows a chance is that it was a contained story. It was also a adventure. There's not a whole lot of TV shows that translate to an adventure style show very well. I mean, Young Indiana Jones did it. There's some shows, but it's hard to, I think, capture that kind of magic in a television series that's ongoing.
I think that's something that's interesting about the movie is that it clearly it was a big budget, and it was done by Roland Emmerich, the guy that did the Independence Day film, and it was clearly meant to be a franchise. But instead of doing films, they just picked up with a television show, because the show, the way I understand it, like a year after the movie's canon. Like it picks up after the film. It's not like a retelling or anything. It just continues on with new actors playing the main leads. But
that's not unheard of. I mean, shit, Marvel's done it. Like, everybody's recasted. Harry Potter movies did it. That's not really that big of a, I don't know, issue. There's a lot of different, like, when I watch shows, I like watching like thrillers. You also look at like crime dramas. They're different. But when we watch Perry Mason, or we watch True Detective or fantasy, those, to me, those aren't really adventure. It's political almost too. Because you look at like Game of Thrones, there's a lot of backstabbing and politics, and there's a lot more than just like adventure. But in a movie condensed version, I feel like it translates better. I watch a lot of different shows, but I literally can't think of one that's like an adventure, like National Treasure or The Mummy or anything like that.
Highlander, man, that's another show that picked up after the movies. Yeah, I love that show.
I like the actor better than Christopher Lambert.
So the premise of Stargate is, according to the IMDb plot summary, an interstellar teleportation device found in Egypt leads to a planet with humans resembling ancient Egyptians who worship the god Ra. That's pretty damn accurate. It's very simple. It's basically Ancient Aliens, the movie. It's the only part they left out is that some of the humans want to destroy the Stargate,
and they do it with the hair.
And Ra wants to blow up Earth. So that's basically the premise. It has two leads, almost equal. You could argue that James Spader is the main lead, but Kurt Russell obviously shines in this film. And at the end of this, I'm going to point out something very interesting that connects this movie with Soldier, in my opinion, which is our other review that's already up. The first review we put up for the Kurt Russell-A-Thon. Go check that out if you have not. But so I'll start with James Spader. He plays Dr. Daniel Jackson, who, like I said, in the series, I know they just cast somebody else to play that role. We're not going to talk too much about the series because, like I said, we didn't watch it. So in this film, he's basically a linguist. He understands ancient languages. He can translate. He's really good at that. And he has a lot of theories that the pyramids in Egypt were not built the way that history says they were. He's not saying that they were aliens necessarily, but he could tell that something was off. and he's sort of a joke in that community.
I liked how they did that, though. How they showed that he was doing this giant presentation. Everybody was there to hear. And then all of a sudden, they were just like, fuck this guy. And they all just kind of laughed him off, and they all left.
He's brought in. He is able to decipher how the Stargate works and activate it, which creates a gateway to the other side of the known universe. Now, the military is concerned about the potential of a threat being on the other side. Clearly, somebody more advanced built this thing. So they bring Kurt Russell, Colonel Jack O'Neill, out of retirement. He's been in retirement because his son was died. What was it, a gun accident or something? That's basically what they said.
Yeah, that's what they implied, that it went off or something. Also, his hair. His hair at the beginning of this movie, it was majestic. It's like long flowing locks.
It was amazing. I wish he had kept it for the whole movie. But yeah, I have long hair, for those of you who don't know.
But he had to cut it all off for, all of his
military. Yeah.
All his military movies he did shortly after that.
But he comes in and he's the one who basically.
Actually, before you start, was that his hair from Tombstone? Because remember, he had longer.
He did have longer hair. I would have to check the year.
I'm gonna look it up. Go ahead, continue.
It might be actually. He's brought in and he's on sort of a secret mission. He brings like a nuclear device to blow up the Stargate and whatever is on the other side. And he does not plan on coming back. He plans on it being basically a suicide mission. He's super depressed because the loss of his son, and that's basically his story arc through the film. And we also have, I'm going to pronounce it Sha'uri. If you're a Stargate fan, maybe I'm saying it wrong, but we're going to go with Sha'uri. The only the only female lead really in the film. She is basically the love interest to James Spader. She's introduced. She's like,
I think
smart fed. Yeah, basically. She comes in. She's like the water girl. And then they basically offer her up as a bride to James Spader, which is sort of plays out over the course of the film. And then they fall in love in like one night. And then that's their story arc. Now he does teach her, or she helps teach him the language so that he can understand what the people on the other side are speaking. And then he tells her like the history of Earth. I mean, they have a few nice little moments, but it was very rushed as far as the way that story was told.
I just looked it up. He did Captain Ron, then Tombstone, then a part in Forrest Gump. He played Elvis. I forgot that. And then he did this movie. So it was like long hair back to back.
He was rocking that. I guess he kept it and then shaved it after that opening scene.
That's funny.
We also have what I dubbed the Lost Boys. Basically a group of young men who hang out, who are part of the people on the other side, and they become friends with Kurt Russell and his crew, and they want to hang out with them and fight with them in the rebellion. They never really go out of their way to name anybody. There's a couple sort of main ones, but I just call them the Lost Boys.
That's not a bad name for them. You hear the crickets?
Yes.
I hear them like echoing in the speaker.
In the
trying to get the damn dog back in the house.
A current guest of Pulp Mythos, McGruff.
He's like always in the videos at some point.
If you go back to our review of The Guest, it's approximately 35 minutes in. You will hear McGruff tripping Spencer and him falling down some stairs. I left it in. It is funny. like I said, about 35 minutes into the review for the guest, which went up, I don't know, several weeks ago.
But his hair was pretty majestic, and like I said, and we talked about it in the Soldier review that he tends to do movies based on,
Yeah,
like, I don't
he's
know
gonna
if
wear
it's his
hair.
agent. I don't know if it's his agent or what, but like his hair was long, so he did Elvis, Tombstone, uh, Captain Ron, like all back to back. And if I'm not mistaken, I think the Escape movies were right before that.
Well,
No, he
one
did.
was no far back, but the other
Yeah,
was around there, L.A.
Backdraft,
Yes,
Big Trouble, Little China.
masterpiece.
So you have all these movies like throughout the 80s where he had longer hair. And then he cuts it in this movie and then did Executive Decision.
Mm-hmm.
Although he did Escape from LA in 96 and he had longer hair in that.
Mm.
So he grew it back out and then cut it off for Soldier.
Or he could have. I mean, he could have shot the. Well, no, that was years later. So no, you're right. Yeah. The. So yeah, that's Kurt Russell. We have James Spader. We have the Lost Boys and Sha'uri, and then we have the only other real lead in the film is the villain, the antagonist, Raw. And you don't meet Raw until an hour. The film's approximately 2 hours, give or take a few minutes. It's almost exactly 1 hour into the movie. So at the exact half point is you don't take an antagonist until that point. And Raw comes in and they give a little history on him. It's okay. It's a little bit of an exposition dump, but basically he's an ancient alien. His people died. He found humans on Earth. He possessed one of their bodies because he has technology that can revive the human body easily. So he can basically live in it for almost, I guess, forever. And then he takes the humans there, makes them slaves to mine this mineral that he uses to build these Stargates and his tech. And then there's an uprising on Earth, so he hauls ass, leaves Earth, and now Earth is where it's at. And he sort of has a fear of Earth because he sees that they've, create nuclear weapons now, so he plans on destroying Earth.
Well, I think also when you look at how fast they advanced once they had their tech there, Earth advanced way faster. Like this place, wherever, I don't know, this make-believe planet exists, actually it's probably real. There's probably really a Stargate that where the Egyptians teleported
Well, I
in
just
from.
thought it was funny. It's a desert planet. I'm obviously a Dune fan, so I'm like, yeah, Arrakis.
But I thought that looking at it this way, they're still very primitive. So they never, organized. They never advanced. Whereas the Egyptians,
language was illegal. Remember?
yes, they did
they
that.
feared, yeah.
But I wonder if that was a result of what happened on Earth. Like if Earth was first and then it was this, so I don't know.
Yeah, because I based on the way I perceived it, those were humans that he had brought over, and he just created all these strict laws. They couldn't read and write, and he just basically tried to control them through fear because he didn't want any more uprisings. Because yes, he's this super advanced alien, but him and his people are flesh and bone. You can kill them fairly easily, actually.
Yeah, and they seemed all, they saw them as these super human beings, but it was their technology was so advanced, their weapons, their armor, the little helmet things they wore, basically the things that would bring them back to life. That was super advanced. So they were never really in fear of any, them being hurt. Also, until, Kurt Russell and all them brought all these guns, they basically just had sticks while they had these giant, electronic, I don't know, shock guns. So
Shotgun.
I don't know, taser rifles, but they had this advanced technology where they just had basically like hammers and sticks. They weren't going to do a whole lot of damage, but Kurt Russell and them brought some ammunition with them, and it changed the game.
Going back to this movie being therapy for me at a troubling time, the one of the big pieces of that, and it when it kicked in, I promise you it was a flood of emotion. Was the soundtrack. When the movie opens up, you just have that amazing, just real adventure, energetic soundtrack that kicks in. You know, I love that theme, and you hear it several times throughout the film. I love the opening credits. I really miss those kinds of credits where you have the central theme of the film playing. You have some kind of cool visuals happening. In this case, a close up of like the statue of Ra. I miss that. Films don't do that anymore. They go straight into the film. There's sort of an unspoken rule now in Hollywood that you don't have opening credits anymore. And I miss those days. I've heard arguments for them and against them. I think it gets you in the mood. I mean, it really sets the stage and sort of pulls you in, at least for me.
Well, I think that it's. I don't know. I don't dislike the fact that it goes straight into the movie, but to me, it depends on the movie. There's certain movies that I feel benefit from the going straight into the story, and then I feel like there is a series of movies that probably benefit from setting a tone. You look at like the National Treasures movie. It's they to me that's another adventure type movie. It's setting a tone. The Mummy I think is very similar to this kind of movie where it's setting a tone from the get go. But there's certain movies that doing that's not going to do anything. It's not going to help.
This movie predates Titanic, but it reminded me of Titanic. The an older lady who has a necklace that's sort of important to the central plot. I don't know if James Cameron lifted that from this movie. I have no idea, but clearly both movies had that same sort of story beat.
It
I don't
seems
know.
like something he would do.
It's funny. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he was a big fan of Stargate, and it was just like, yeah, I'm gonna take that. Um, One critique I will have of the film is the military's willingness to send troops through the gate without having any idea if something organic could survive. I mean, yeah, they had their instruments measure that people could survive over there, but they didn't test it. They didn't send something through. Not even like a bucket of bugs or something.
Yeah, they didn't, like you said, they didn't test it out. They're just like, well, it opens now, so we're just gonna send this group of people through real quick, see what happens. Like they just sent the robot through, and that was it.
Yeah. So then you had the James Spader's character who couldn't create the gateway to come back, and he didn't know how. And that was another puzzling part, is that they thought he would just get there and be able to do it, and he wasn't. But they never really questioned it. They never asked any questions. They just assumed. So, like we said, this is a battle between the humans and these aliens, or well, at least alien. When we get to the end of the film, it was weird. We had just watched Soldier. Like I said, the review's up. Go check that out. And it sort of surprised me because I'd forgotten. As it was happening, I was remembering. But the ending of this movie is the same as Soldier. And what I mean by that is it comes down to a fist fight between Kurt Russell and the lead or the head soldier. And at the end of the battle, he outsmarts that soldier, kills them using the environment. And this is all plays in conjunction with a timer counting down a nuclear explosion in which he uses to kill the main bad guy.
So you're saying that not only did James Cameron steal this idea, that I don't know, whoever the fuck it was that directed this movie, he stole that idea as well. Like they all.
The Soldier came later. So
Soldier was what, Soderbergh?
no,
No, who was that?
it was the dude who directed. No,
That
Anderson.
was
The
yeah, Wes Anderson. Grand Budapest Hotel. Got it. Wes Anderson stole ideas from James Cameron, who stole ideas from this guy. Tracker.
But yeah, that as it was happening, and I immediately remember because when they start fighting, I was like, "Oh shit!" I remember how he kills him, and then oh yeah, he teleports the bomb and blows up. Like it all came back to me, and I'm like, "Holy shit!" That's how Soldier ends. like literally that. Like there's no way that's just a coincidence. That had to be when they wrote Soldier. That that had to be a nod to Stargate. Had to be. I mean, it just had to be.
Stargate came out in what, 94? So
yes.
Titanic came out in like 97, and Soldier was what, 97 or 98?
It's like 8, I think.
I think so. So you have these movies that were all stealing from this masterpiece that we like to call Stargate.
It laid the foundation for the biggest film of all time, Titanic, or one of the biggest. And so yeah, Stargate. I'll say when the credits were rolling this time, and like it's been a while since I've seen it. I'm a much older person now. There was a piece of me that said, it was in the back of my mind saying you should check out the show. Like I'm not gonna lie, I was sort of like, I want to know where this story goes, and that's the first time that's ever happened. Where, like I said, in the past, I enjoyed the movie, but I never thought to be like, yeah, I'm gonna check out the show because I know there's a shit ton of seasons, and I mean it's a whole thing. But I will say
I
I'm
think
tempted
each
to
universe
check it
has
out.
like 17 different planets and 42 different. But that's what I'm saying. Like, I think there's a difference between fantasy and even sci-fi and adventure. And although this had sci-fi elements, it felt more like an adventure movie because I like Star Trek Next Generation. Like, I love Next Generation. Didn't care for the other ones as much, but I think it's just because I like Patrick Stewart. But, when I watched the show Alien, like in the early 90s, late 80s, like there's a lot of things sci-fi, that I like, but it just, I could not watch the show.
Yeah. So yeah, Kurt Russell, like I said, he defeated the main bad guy and chopped his head off using a teleporter, and then teleported a nuke to Ra and blew him up, ending his several thousand-year reign of terror. So Kurt Russell for the win, yet again. But
Kurt
yeah,
Russell
that's
always
Stargate.
wins.
Damn right.
Except in Executive Decision.
Yeah. And in Bone Tomahawk, it didn't go too well for him either.
But that
didn't go too well for anybody.
It's funny. It's funny that in Executive Decision, he's like one of the marquee actors, and he's in it for what, 10 minutes? Because I remember that him and Steven Seagal. I don't think, was it him or Steven Seagal that died in the first 10
Steven
seconds?
Seagal that
I just
literally in like 2 scenes.
And he was like one of the marquee actors, and it's like Steven Seagal and Kurt Russell. And Steven Seagal was like, "Peace out, bitches," and he dies in the first 2 minutes.
Yeah. But yeah, that's Stargate. Any other thoughts on Stargate?
Like I said, it was a very adventure-y movie. I enjoyed it. I really liked, like you said, it reminded me of being a teenager. It didn't remind me of being sad and anxious and sitting in my bed watching it at 2:00 in the morning because I was worried about my friends at school.
That's exactly what it was. It's like you were there.
I was in spirit. But it is a movie that, like, even watching it now, I don't think about it until I see it, but I did enjoy it. Like, I still like it. I liked it felt almost like an Indiana Jones at parts. They're going through these tombs. I love that when they got outside of the Pyramid, like the effects that they put into that. It was almost nothing was CG, and you can tell that even back then there was still some CG that existed, and it was god awful. But this movie didn't have a lot of it. So even now, 25 years later, it still holds up. It still looks good. It doesn't look shitty. So I really did enjoy it, and I'm glad that it didn't necessarily stand the test of time.
Well, I mean,
It's not going to be a classic, but
it spawned a fandom. I mean, we'll give it that.
Well, yeah. I mean, any kind of, you think of Star Trek or what is it, Battlestar? That's like it's that kind of stuff where it did spawn several different spin-offs. But like I said, I liked it, but I'm still not going to watch the show.
Well, there you go. It did not convert Spencer to watch the show. So yeah, more Kurt Russell-A-Thon coming your way. This is our second movie. The third one should be up sometime next week, and there's plenty more coming your way. I'm not going to say which movies in what order, because if you look at the opening, you'll see. But I don't know. The order could change. Who knows? But yeah, more reviews coming. So, all right.
Bye.
Bye.